Hello, everyone, and welcome to Governance Call number 23. If you haven't noticed, this is a Christmas edition. So hopefully you brought your hats and your reindeers and your red noses and whatnot. And if you didn't, it's still okay. We still have a lot of good stuff on the agenda. And as usual, we're going to start with a governance update. And then we have Web3 Foundation with us, and we'll talk a little bit about the announcement we recently made. And I'm not going to say too much. You probably already know what it is, but I'm going to tease a little bit and let it hold. And then we have protocol fees on the agenda and two proposals that are ongoing, the Unclaimed Tinlake rewards and the transition to OpenGov, what the plans are. So that's the agenda for today. So if any of you haven't unmuted yourself, let me just ask you that from the beginning, please, or mute yourselves so we don't get any unexpected noise during the call. Thank you. So the update for the governance update, we recently had CP78 that passed. That was a runtime upgrade on Centrifuge. And then we have two ongoing proposals, both in the request for comment stage. That is to update the CP6 block rewards and the unclaimed Tinlake rewards. And we're going to talk about the unclaimed Tinlake rewards later in the call. There is also a discussion going on about the levels of engagement in the Centrifuge DAO and how we can improve that setup. And if there's time towards the end of the call, Kate will actually talk us a little bit through that one. But there's also, this is the proposals in our own DAO, but there has also been some very interesting proposals in other DAOs related to Centrifuge. We recently had the proposal to Frax to onboard into Centrifuge with Centrifuge Prime to invest, allocate, I think it was $20 million into the Anemoy pool. And that proposal passed yesterday. That was a big one. And there's another ongoing in the Gnosis DAO as well. So a lot of things are happening around us as well. Now, that's the governance update. And on the agenda, we will start with the Web3 Foundation. And we recently announced that, oh, I promised I wouldn't say it. So we have Luca with us from the Web3 Foundation. So would you mind just, presenting yourself to the community and just, what the Web3 Foundation is and what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely. So good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone has said. Right, my name is Luca. I'm currently working at Web3 Foundation, where I manage the deployment of the off-chain treasury and I cover the asset management allocation. So I'm very glad to be here. And first of all, thanks for inviting me. Very happy to share our and let's say mine perspective on the real-world asset, and of course, in light of the partnership with Centrifuge and the investment in the tokenized treasury deal with Anemoy, right? So let me start from here. So I think there are, of course, many potential use cases, right, and reasons behind investing in RWA, and of course, probably even better than me, right, most of them. But let me give you our perspective, right, and our use case to why we invested in RWA, and we plan to still invest in RWA also next year, and also why we consider this type of investment to be, I would say, very relevant, right, for the upcoming years or year. So at Web3 Foundation, overall, our mission, as you might be aware, is about sustaining the decentralization and boosting the growth of the Web3 movement overall. So therefore, as you can imagine, the involvement in the blockchain and the Web3 industry is very deep. And naturally, we are kind of aligned, right, and very exposed. On one side, we are exposed with the industry potential, but on the other, of course, we are very exposed with the embedded risk, which are definitely prominent in the blockchain industry, as we know. So as we recognize this, right, and in particular, as I'm from this area of treasury, asset management, risk management, right, we definitely understand that there is a critical need to set up a robust funding base, to make sure that we need to be resilient enough during the well-known fluctuation of our industry, and meanwhile we need to be able to support continuously the ecosystems, right? And with that I mean that the market can go up and down, But on our side, we need to be always there to be able to sustain the ecosystem, in particular during, you know, the bear season. Is probably also the season where, you know, the real development happened, right? And so we need to be able to sustain developers, initiatives, and so on and so forth. So let's say, to rephrase it again, right? So we are very deeply connected with the blockchain industry. And on the other side, we need to really mitigate the risk most probably, and probably what we are trying to do right now is diversification, right? And because we need to comply somehow with our risk appetite. And definitely we can achieve, you know, this diversification through opportunities in the traditional financial world. And here is where, you know, real world asset, to us at least, present this interesting risk return profile, allowing us to ensure, you know, this right asset allocation, diversifying the risk, but still covering the mission of supporting the Web3 development, right? So putting all these three things together, it's a very, I would say, a sweet spot between diversification, supporting the ecosystem, and anyway ensuring, right, the treasury enough resilient and robust. So let's say, based on that, right, you understand there is definitely a pure financial benefit of investing in RWA, but by a centrifuge. But I'll say in terms, I would say probably, of course, there are not just pure financial decision, right? It's not just the decision itself is not merely driven by financial aspect. It's mostly an overall commitment, right, to support the broader ecosystem. Let's say we diversify our asset allocation through RWA. We somehow safeguard our treasury, and, you know, ultimately we fortify the foundation and the support of the Web3 community, right? So that's the flow of thought that we had when we decide to invest in RWA. So that's about the RWA. Probably just now a word, since we are in the Centrifuge Governance Call, like a word about Centrifuge, right? Why? Of course, let's say the Centrifuge itself, I might be biased, but of course we consider Centrifuge to be operating on the more decentralized and robust blockchain, because it's actually operating on the Polkadot parachain. But then, of course, honestly, besides being biased, probably this definitely helps, right? Because we go through a due diligence, we also have to analyze and consider the technological risk behind every kind of investment, and of course, knowing which kind of blockchain the whole you know, setup is built on definitely helps, right? But I would say that even more importantly, objectively, the whole journey with Centrifuge. So I believe the end-to-end process itself was very, very transparent, right, to the final investor, in this case to us. Let's say from the POP to the way the analysis, and to the analysis which is performed by, you know, the risk advisor group. I would say there is a very high level, you know, kind of level of transparency, and also a good level of engagement in the forum. We definitely hope that this engagement is even more, you know, pick up even more in the, you know, coming months and year. But this helps a lot, right? Because on our side, we need to go through, as you can imagine, like a quite formal process of performing due diligence, going to investment committee, get green light. And of course, the more information we can gather, the more, you know, complete due diligence we can provide, which means that, you know, the more easier is this whole decision-making process, right? So this definitely is an added value from Centrifuge and the way it is structured. So probably, yes, that's it, right? So I would say thanks again for having me here, but most importantly, thanks for what you are building, because definitely I think that we are looking forward to an even more interesting 2024, speaking about Centrifuge and RWA. So very happy to be here. Any question, of course, let me know. Otherwise, I'm also reachable, of course, offline or, you know, via Telegram, any way you want to approach.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you so much, Luca. Are there any questions to Luca in this regards? Or is everyone just as excited as I am about this and don't know what to say?
I have a question, Orhan.
Sure. Go ahead, Will.
Luca, are you guys looking at any other RWA investments outside of treasuries, or is it mostly just US treasuries for now?
So let's say that the treasury, we consider it to be also like a pilot, I would say, investment, because as you can imagine, right, it was easier to be analyzed from a risk perspective, like, you know, counterparty risk and all these kind of aspects were quite easy to be addressed. Of course, we are as well already like having a look at other initiatives, which probably are going to be on Centrifuge, hopefully, like maybe beginning of next year, like on the commercial loan side. and also, yeah, mostly like on talking about probably new silver. So at the moment, we are, literally starting having like a pipeline of potential initiative we are addressing, and then the whole process is, we approach different people, we get information, we go through the first investment committee, we present like the overall understanding and the overall initiative, like sizes, background, overall legal aspect, risk aspect. And then if we get green light to move ahead, we then, probably spend another month doing a more detailed due diligence. We go back and then, we decide together with the council how to move forward. But yes, absolutely. So the point is that, Treasury itself was considered to be a very good pilot initiative because, as I said, in this way, we actually are able to, test the end-to-end process, just reducing a little bit the risk from the pure financial investment perspective, because it's about treasury bill. But then in this way, we can understand how the whole end-to-end blockchain minting and tokenization and transfer, everything works right on our side as well. It's good to have like a first initial step to minimize what can be minimized in terms of risk, and then from here it's just about us. We definitely have we have guidelines around how we distribute our asset. We have an asset allocation guidelines, and there are some initiatives which are more compatible than other, I would say, from a risk return profile. But definitely sometimes it's a matter of deciding, sizes, deciding potential, mitigant to this risk. And so, we are also here. It's not just to make a financial decision, as you can imagine. It's mostly to understand which kind of decision brings the more tangible benefit, right, to the overall ecosystem. So definitely, right, this is a factor which has a higher weight than other aspect in our, let's say, equation, right, when we decide which opportunity to invest with.
Cool. And then last question for me, what about like liquidation timeline? Because that seems to be a big thing for people who are investing in on-chain real world assets, is they want something that is low risk and high liquidity. When you guys are making assets into real world assets, investments into them, what type of liquidity are you guys wanting to see?
That's right, and that's also why we really liked this the treasury one, because of course was the underlying assets were very kind of short term, around like lower than 1 year, which of course on our side it's still quite quite close to the maximum boundary, but definitely it's a case by case decision and definition, right? As I said, there are many mitigants we can put in place, but for sure you are raising a very good point, right? Liquidation time is very important, and also it's something that we factor in. As I said, right, there are like many variables we consider when we take decision, including also time to market and time to liquidate the investment, of course.
Cool, thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Thank you, Luca, and thank you for the question, Will. Anything else, or we will move on then. So thank you very much, Luca, for both coming and taking your time to talking about this and answering questions. We greatly appreciate that. Just here at the end, Martin, do you want to add anything to all of this, or did Luca cover pretty much everything?
Of course, Luca covered pretty much everything. I just would like to express, it was a real pleasure working with Web3 Foundation and to welcoming them as one of the first investors to the Liquid Treasury Fund. But what I would also like to say is that's one of the rare, we speak to a lot of DAOs, but one of the DAO treasuries, which is really run very, very professional, though it was a whole due diligence team was focusing on technology, so really covering what is considered to be the smart contract risk, then really legal support covering the legal side of things, the legal structure, and then most likely Luca's turf, the risk of an investment in itself. So really, what are the real counterparty risk? What is the structure when I'm investing? T-bills is super easy because you can look at one of the most plain vanilla, straightforward asset classes in the world with most likely the lowest risk and the highest liquidity you can imagine, the short-term US Treasury bonds. But there's a lot of things you need to consider on top, because everyone talks about tokenized T-bills, but there are no tokenized T-bills. You have a token, and you need to really kind of, realize and check what that token means to you, and holding the token, having it in the wallet, what rights does it give to you, etc. And that was, I think, a super good experience to get through all these questions and the due diligence Luca had led. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. All right. I think we can move on to the next point on the agenda. Luca, if you need to leave, that's absolutely fine, but feel free to stay for the remainder of the call as well. So thanks for coming again. All right. Next stop on the agenda is protocol fees. And Lucas, if you are here, will you share with us, please?
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, just a quick update. I kind of kicked off this conversation in the forum a few months ago, actually, by now. What's been happening is that on the engineering side, we started building the kind of necessary code to start charging these fees. And the other thing that happened actually is that we are now at a point where 2 DAOs have voted and approved the prime fees that actually were proposed in these processes. So kind of the initial conversation that and just to recap a bit, one thing that I kind of brought up is when we originally had the conversation about protocol fees, it was a very simple, like we had kind of one asset class, it was mostly private credit that we were thinking about at the time. We were talking about, this was before prime was really a thing, right? So since then, a lot has changed. The things that have changed is prime is actually kind of, the idea is to use linked pools to allow these DAOs to create different portfolios. And the work involved there is quite different than just launching a traditional pool. It's actually not an issuer that's like selling to different investors. It's more like using Centrifuge to invest across a portfolio of assets. And so with both Aave and Frax live now, and actually Gnosis was just posted in the forum, I think today, we have probably like a good idea and consensus on those fees, and I would propose that we just kind of standardize those in the DAO in Centrifuge, and we kind of start implementing those. And there might still be like different DAOs that will have different needs and will want to deviate from that. So I think the prime fees will always kind of course, also need the agreement from ultimately the users, the customers here, which are these other DAOs. But I think that's like one place where we can move forward and we kind of standardize on those. Then the other part is the fees for issuers. And I would say like there's kind of vastly different asset classes and kind of different complexities in how Centrifuge is being used for these different asset classes. And so my original kind of thinking was, why don't we have different fees for private and public assets? And so my proposal would be to lower the protocol fees somewhat from 45 basis points to 5 to 7.5 basis points, which I think is kind of on the upper end for just like these very liquid treasurable products that don't actually have any like complex valuation logic, are relatively simple in cash flows, and ultimately like is a very in TradFi also like a very low margin business. So there's really just not that much like this can't be that too costly. So that's kind of the thinking. There's a first discussion post. I wanted to bring this up again here in the call just to have another conversation about that before we start actually a formal proposal that will kind of ratify these fees. So happy to have a discussion and answer any questions about it.
Lucas, can you explain how it works if we vote on the fees on a proposal and have the fees set across the different pool types, but then a prime customer says, no, we don't want to pay that fee? What would happen in that case?
No, so technically, the way the fees, the best way to implement these fees is actually to have them be fixed at pool launch. So what I would propose for now, and maybe that like what I would propose is that those prime fees are like we leave them as is, so 35 basis points, then going down to 20 basis points between 50 and 100 million, and 10 basis points above 100 million in kind of money that they're managing through prime. And that I would say like this is something we should agree on. What I meant is more there could be reasons why we want to where like the standard prime offering is not a good fit, and there's like a need to charge more, like other service providers to come in and are different. So so that's, but how it works is that when a DAO kind of sets up this prime, right, this fee structure will be encoded in the link pool. Likewise, when actually a pool launches, they effectively define the pool type, and that will like trigger the correct fee being set up at launch. Thought asked if the fees are different. From a yes, they're definitely different, but they're technically actually both like in the long run, not for now, but in the first technical release of kind of the like the real portfolio support for prime. Right, for now, these prime customers are kind of onboarding to individual pools and managing their allocations across different pools manually. But kind of one thing on the engineering roadmap is to have actually these link pools take over for that. And when that actually happens, like there's actually no difference between a prime user using our pools functionality to manage their prime portfolio and an issuer kind of managing a pool of assets with different investors, right? So from a technical perspective, they're the same. So that's why we're talking about this fees in the same proposal, because we're kind of using the same code to charge them, to manage them, etc.
Yeah, it's actually helpful because I was like I was thinking about talking about these from two different perspectives, but I get it now. I do think, Lucas, and I've mentioned this to you before, so I'll say it here on the call while we're talking about it. Like, I think the fee structure makes sense, and I really like the way we're talking about like pool types and combining that into fees as well. And then, Kate, to your question about like the fees issue, like today it's not really an issue. The market's so fragmented, it's really difficult to like go out. Like we're offering, for the most part, we're like right there offering kind of the best fees in the market. You know, maybe not the absolute lowest compared to someone else, but for what your people are getting, we're not overcharging either by any means, right? So it's a really like reasonable fee structure as it is today. But I definitely think we need support for like rebates is like the way I'd say it, right? So you don't necessarily negotiate like the fee structure with someone, but if someone, for example, like an asset manager, and this is quite common, they're bringing assets to originate, and then they're also bringing a significant source of capital, and then they're also bringing additional capital kind of extension works, right? That's a perfect kind of opportunity where a rebate makes a lot of sense because they're doing a lot to fill up both sides of the bucket. And that's also how traditional kind of financial institutions that operate like Centrifuge, like marketplaces and exchanges do this. It's probably like a V2 feature, but that's something I'd love to see on the roadmap as well, is the ability to like encode rebates or even structure rebates around things like that. It could be even based on transaction volume. There's a lot of ways to do it. Just for discussion.
Thanks, Asad. Super helpful.
Are there any other questions to Lucas about the protocol fees? Any input? Any last words?
I don't have a question per se, but I do have another conflict, so I do have to leave. But I wanted to share with everybody that I got a copy of the Zine from one of our co-founders. So I'm so excited to finally meet you guys IRL and have you sign this like you're a bunch of stars. So it's really cool reading through this. You did an awesome job with this thing as a physical. Anyhow, love everything Centrifuge is doing. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. But but sorry, somebody put a conflict on my thing at 12:30, but I gotta run. But it's great hearing you, and I'll watch the rest of the recording, catch the other half of the meeting.
Sounds
See you,
good,
gang.
Brian. Thank you. All right.
Mohan, can I just go back to protocol fees 1 second?
Of course.
Lucas and I guess I've made the last proposal. Can you make it more visual, like in terms of like showing the different fees and like some tables and graphs? That would be super helpful in terms of trying to understand it. That's all.
You hear that, Lucas? All right. Good.
Sorry, yes. Well, Ivan, maybe let's work on this together.
Perfect. Does that answer it, Kate? All right. Okay. If there is nothing else, and there will be a formal proposal at some point as well, I suppose, where it will be possible to comment.
Yeah, that's the next milestone.
Yeah.
To do that.
All right. Perfect. Okay, then we can swiftly move on the agenda, and the next topic is one that we already started in the call last month, where it was a discussion post. And yeah, Ivan, will you talk about the Unclaimed Tinlake rewards proposal, where we are and where it's going?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Maybe I will share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, we see it.
Yeah, so this proposal is about Unclaimed Tinlake rewards. Before that we will start about this proposal, I will make some Tinlake wallet overview. So right now we have 4.7 million CFG in this wallet, and this is the wallet balance, how this changed after the end of rewards, which occurred with CP61 in November. The discussion, as you already stated 1 month ago, and after 1 month of discussion, I posted the RFC last week. The goal of this proposal is transfer Unclaimed Tinlake rewards to the Centrifuge wallet. I will add some background why this proposal is important. After the launch of Tinlake, a portion of Unclaimed rewards accumulated in Tinlake wallets for several years, and since November 2023, the rewards on Tinlake were stopped. So now we have a new Centrifuge app on Centrifuge chain, and all new pools will be launched on Centrifuge chain. So maybe these funds will be useful on as rewards on Centrifuge chain or for other purpose for the DAO. So I'd like to propose 30 days of claiming period in a way that all investors, Tinlake investors, can claim their rewards, and after this period, transfer all rewards from Tinlake wallets to Centrifuge Treasury. And this is the action plan, a timeline. So we will create the OpenSquare snapshot vote. If OpenSquare snapshot vote passes, so we will start 30 days of period. And after this period, we will upload empty Merkle tree that stop claiming on Tinlake. And once it's done, via on-chain governance vote, we will transfer all rewards from Tinlake wallets to Treasury. And from the governance perspective, this will look like this. If anyone have any questions.
Thank you, Ivan. I think this was very clear to everyone. Very nice short explanation. And I think that if I remember correctly, the consensus in the discussion was that the DAO was generally in favor of transferring these funds. So I think it was mainly the notice that people were talking about. So what do people say like this to this proposal, the way it's presented now with a 30 days notice to claim the tokens before they're transferred to the treasury? Any input on that? On that part?
I think you're probably preaching to the converted here, or asking the input from the converted who are like, yeah, let's get these rewards back. Whereas the people who wouldn't be in this call and may have an opinion, yeah, we don't know who they are.
True.
Or maybe we do, but maybe we need to find out what they think.
Yeah, I have one question. Is there going to be any like announcements to these to the investors affected? So in case they don't see the proposal on the forum or hear about it, is there any way to make them aware that this is happening?
I think maybe this possible. Maybe we should ask our engineer about this, but we announce it every hour step in Telegram, in Discord, in Twitter, everywhere. So we did announce it about the discussion about the RFC. The next step will be open square snapshot voting with action that will be taken. So yeah,
Yeah, that
maybe
makes sense, Ivan. Like, we need to communicate on all the existing comms channels, and that's doing the best that we can do. And if people then don't engage and don't vote, then that's their problem.
I mean,
So
even
that sounds like a
now,
good approach.
even now is open source snapshot voting that will be 7 days plus 13 days plus on-chain governance. So I don't think that the rewards will be transferred before the end of January. So, I mean, this is really much more than 1 month.
Yeah, good point. And if people, they can still comment on the post on the forum if they have any other suggestions or anything. So yeah. All right. Okay, then we can also move on from the unclaimed Tinlake rewards, unless there are any questions or input here. No? All right. Okay. The next topic on the agenda is the transition to OpenGov, and there was a short presentation last month of like what it means, what the implications are of a migration. And the tracks and parameters have been suggested now already. And I think we more or less have found like a good solution for us to begin with. And I still think that they will need to be adjusted going forward once we see how it actually plays out. But we have suggested the best possible tracks with the knowledge and the data we had available. And yes, so the plan is to create a proposal, a formal proposal, because it's been a discussion so far only, within the next 10 days, I'd say, on the forum. And then the on-chain vote will happen sometimes in Q1 2024, because there are still a lot of things that need to be done prior to the on-chain submission. And the plan is also to have the council coexisting with OpenGov for the first 3 months. So we have practically Gov1 and OpenGov running at the same time, just as an extra precaution if something unexpected happens, that we still have the option and the safety of the council. So, and it will also be launching on Altair first, so we can expect a proposal on Altair with the same tracks, but with some modified parameters, so we can still do things quicker and be more flexible on Altair. So just to try things out. So that's the short plan. There will be a post on the forum, within the next 10 days. So that's the plan for the OpenGov transition. Are there any questions to the transition in general, not to the tracks and the parameters, but like to the whole idea of transitioning into OpenGov? Are there any concerns, any questions? I'll be happy to answer them now.
Yeah, maybe I have the question. Can you talk more about Altair? What will happen with Altair? If
What will
Altair
happen with
be-
what? With Altair?
Yeah,
What do you mean in terms of OpenGov?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, yeah, the proposal will be to launch on Altair first to try things out, like as the purpose is of Altair. So we can try out like these tracks and see how they work, but they will have the tracks will have a reduced time period, and the proposal will be that they will be half of what they are in Centrifuge. So half the time for a proposal to pass or fail on Altair compared to Centrifuge. And also the deposits for launching a proposal will also be lower on Altair than on Centrifuge. The only thing that we still need to be a little bit mindful about on Altair is the treasury, because we still have a treasury on Altair with quite a few tokens in it. So it's still something we need to protect, but still not make proposal impossible to pass, but just find some reasonable parameters so we don't expose ourselves and the treasury. So that's what there is about Altair, unless was there anything in specific about Altair you wanted to know? Right. Okay. Then we don't have any more topics on the agenda, but we do have a discussion post on the forum about the levels of engagement. And Kate, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I do. I'm just sharing it here in the chat, but there's, oh yeah, just checking that all the questions in the chat have been answered. Yeah, okay. So this is in the discussion phase of governance. It's a discussion that tries to clarify something that we voted on as a DAO when we passed the founding documents, and it's called the levels of engagement. And basically this is trying to, it separates the categories of engagement of people in the Centrifuge DAO and acknowledges that some people are more engaged than others. They do things like come to this call, they they issue pools, they are ambassadors, they build every day on the protocol or do technical development of the protocol. They ensure the security of the protocol. And so people who are active at this level have a different level of access. And this is a concept that is borrowed from different other DAOs and communities. So it's kind of like saying there's all these token holders, probably 43,000, and obviously not all of them are active, and that's fine. If that was to be true, we would see all types of chaos. But it's saying like there are about 100 or so people who are active, who are doing some of these actions, and it's better for the group if these people have like stronger relational ties, or they know each other. When they see each other's face, they can have a conversation. This is like building the kind of the relationships of the group, and it's really, really helpful for community building. So the purpose of this discussion is to revisit what we agreed to in the founding documents and try to clarify this more, because what we've noticed is it's not super clear. Why should you try to become an active contributor? What does that entail? What are the benefits of being an active contributor? So one of the key, there's like 4 quite good things about being an active contributor. And that's that you get invited to a special call called the Active Contributor Call. And that's where like some really big discussions happen about, the direction of the protocol, what we're building, why, what's happening in terms of growth and marketing. And there's also an AC Active Contributor Slack. So like not the Discord, not a Telegram chat, but like an actual Slack dedicated to active contributors. And that's where a lot of like information is shared and a lot of discussions happen. There's also now going to be, there was like a DAO offsite, and now it's becoming an active contributor offsite. So there will also be invitations to that, and that's usually at a very cool location somewhere in the world. And a key part of being an active contributor is that you therefore have the permission to invite other active contributors. So those are like 4 of the benefits. And then someone asked me the other day, but why would I actively contribute to a protocol? Why would I not just free ride? Which was like, great question. I mean, I think like if we think of the protocol as a commons, this is a valid point. Like, and I think this happens all the time, and I think it's okay. As I mentioned before, if 43,000 people are all trying to contribute to this protocol, other than just holding the token, it's going to be chaos. And I think like if you're an active contributor, you're taking up responsibility to steward the protocol. You're saying, yes, like I have incentive in growing this thing, and it may be other than just monetary. Like in the active contributor group, there are a lot of people who are benefiting not just by seeing the token price go up, but by growing their own business on this protocol, you know, like launching pools, growing their fintech on the Centrifuge protocol. So it's very much in your interest, if you're doing one of those key roles, to be an active contributor and shape it even more. And a crucial thing is that anyone can technically become an active contributor. So all token holders, the path is there and it's clear. So visit the post if you want to try to improve the clarity here, because that is really the goal. If you're sitting here in the audience of this governance call and you're not an active contributor, perhaps you could comment on this post and kind of try to ask questions to get more clarity. And yeah, that's all. If anyone has any questions, please ask or comment on the discussion, because it hasn't gone into proposal phase yet, and we will use that discussion and the forthcoming RFC to propose clearer boundaries or clearer levels.
Thank you, Kate.
And sorry, it's 6:47 a.m. where I am in New Zealand, so I may be a bit slow.
It's all right. You are doing perfectly well. So thank you, Kate. Are there any questions to Kate to this discussion post, to this topic with active contributors? And I agree with Kate, especially those who are maybe newer to Centrifuge and are not too familiar with what an active contributor is. Please do go and read the post and comment or ask questions if something doesn't make sense, because it's important that we contribute together to this, and it is an important part of the DAO, knowing what an active contributor is and how you become one. So thank you for sharing that, Kate. All right, so no more planned topics on the agenda. Don't think we have any more spontaneous ones. But I do want to do something that we did last year as well, and I think it's very important that we do this together as well. And that is if each person, if they want, can mention one thing in 2023 that they are very excited about. And personally, I wouldn't know where to start because so many things have happened in 2023. But if you guys were to mention one thing that really stood out, what would that be? Feel free to either write it, but preferably say it out loud if you guys want. One thing. Do you want me to send you the links to all the things that have happened during the year, or? Well, I can start then. I will. There's one RWA summit. Yes, I was going to also say something that happened just before that. That is the Tokenized Asset Coalition, which I believe is going to be very important going forward in terms of regulation and educating about tokenization. So that's one thing I am very happy about, the TAC, Tokenized Asset Coalition. Who's next? What else? More than those two things that happened in 2023.
Treasury bills getting tokenized and coming on chain brought a lot of eyeballs and understanding to a real use case and a lot of growth for real world assets in 2023.
Yes, treasury bills. Good one. What else?
Yeah, just the whole RWA narrative has grown, and it's grown in a realistic way, I think. So that's what I'd say.
Yes, as well. Anything else? All right.
Block tower credit with MakerDAO to Centrifuge, probably one of the huge steps.
Block tower credit, yeah. I don't know if that technically is 2022, but it was early 2023, if not. So yeah, definitely. I'll take that one too. Block tower credit.
Did you guys just see the Frax vote that passed yesterday? So that's exciting, making major progress with stablecoins, with Aave passing a vote, Frax passing a vote, that adding on to Maker. So I see a lot of partnerships and collaboration with stablecoins as we move into 2024.
And also Gnosis DAO is currently voting on a poll, right? For a similar thing. So yeah, a lot of things going on at the same time. So next month there will probably be hopefully be more good news to share as well. But yeah, thank you for the link, Baji.
Good plug.
Yes, go, please vote, show your support, would be greatly appreciated. All right.
There's also the blog that was just published, right? We should probably plug that for everyone to read if anyone missed it. I just put it in the chat. The year of RWAs. So anyone that couldn't find an answer, that's all in there for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, give that one a look as well. There's so many things happening these days, so. All right. Well, if there is no more things people want to mention, then I guess we can call it a day, an evening, or whatever it is where you are. So does anyone have any last words they want to share before we say Happy Christmas to each other? So whether you celebrate or not, have a very nice holiday, some nice days, some nice food, some good time with your family. Look after yourselves, and looking forward to seeing you again here next month. So happy Christmas, happy holidays, or whatever you celebrate. So take care, people.
Thanks, Johan. And thanks,
Take care. Happy holidays. Bye bye.
everyone. Bye, Luke.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye.